it's this half of the years, the story of a poor boy. I'm Mikey.
I'm Matt. Let's say it's the first one of the season.
Yeah, let's say instead.
We've had a break. Wasn't planned.
Yeah. Rather than sitting in trying to think of things to talk about for a couple of weeks, we've just decided not to talk about anything instead.
I haven't seen you in so long.
I know, it's been a long time. Tears have been flowing.
Missed you.
Stop it. I'm getting emotional all over again. So Liverpool have today finished off their pre-season campaign a bit prematurely, probably a bit earlier than Liverpool probably would have liked to have finished their pre-season campaign, but finished it nonetheless with a 3-1 win against Lyon in Switzerland.
A win finally.
It rounds off a pre-season where Liverpool played 7 games, mixed results to say the very least. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little talk about pre-season, where it leaves us before the Community Shield this weekend. Then we'll look at maybe team selection for this weekend, what Liverpool might consider doing before the transfer window closes next week. Is it next week? It is next week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the day before we start, isn't it?
So whatever Liverpool might plan on doing before the window closes. And then as well, we've got a new section which we are going to look at over the next 11 episodes. Hopefully should be quite interesting, we hope. So yeah, Liverpool, as I say, finished their pre-season today. So just to go through the results that they've had this time round. When we come to the end of the season quiz this year, this bit might be helpful. Might want to jot that down.
I'll get a pen.
So Liverpool 6-0 against Tranmere, good start. 3-1 against Bradford. Then a 3-2 loss against Borussia Dortmund, a 2-1 loss against Sevilla, 2-2 draw against Sporting Lisbon, a 3-0 loss against Napoli, and then, as I said earlier, a 3-1 win today against Lyon. So Matt, pick the bones apart of that.
I'm kind of the opinion that pre-season friendlies are just televised training sessions. I like to watch them because I like to see the younger players coming on and being part of the first team and seeing if they can be integrated with the first team for the season proper. But I don't think there's anything. There's nothing real we can really take away from this. A lot of those earlier matches, we had one team playing one half and then one team playing another half. So saying that we lost 3-0 against Napoli was kind of false. Or saying that we lost 3-2 against Dortmund is kind of false because it was a different team each half. Even today, the 3-1, we made more than 11 subs. Mm-hmm. It's just seeing how individual players play, if they look fit. It's all about running, really.
It is, but I do think there's an element to it where we as fans can get very excited about certain people's performances.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So that's why you're looking at individual players, seeing how they play and fit in, if they look exciting.
Well, that's it, though. But can we really pick and choose whether or not pre-season's exciting? Well, if pre-season is relevant for certain aspects and then not for others. For example, if I sit here now and say Ryan Brewster's our top goal scorer in pre-season, means absolutely nothing because it's pre-season. But does it mean nothing? Because it means that he's got minutes with the lads, with the first team lads. Obviously not with Salah and Firmino because they've only just got back kind of thing. But it's a chance for Ryan Brewster to actually get to know these players on the football field more than anything else.
Yeah.
And we can look at that as a positive that Ryan Brewster's got minutes this season. But if you're going to say that pre-season doesn't matter at all, then it is just a glorified friendly. Then, can we even judge anything? I mean, we've seen a lot of youngsters in the past have really good pre-seasons for Liverpool and then disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
So, I don't know.
Do you remember Curtis Jones last summer?
Yeah, and that is a good point, to be fair, because I do remember thinking Curtis Jones is just going to take the world by storm here. last summer he's going to get loads of first team opportunities, and then he hasn't quite done it. But at the same instance, I'm looking at today, and I'm looking at Keanu Herber, who puts in a fantastic performance first half. I'm looking at Ryan Brewster, who's already done really well, as I've said, across pre-season. Harry Wilson's just bammed in a 30-yarder into the top corner. And
that was gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. And pre-season's clearly been enough for Jurgen Klopp to turn around and say, right, well, Ben Woodburn's not good enough to be here this season. He needs to go out on loan to Oxford. So I do think there's a lot of learning that can be done about the squad, whether or not actual results actually do matter. But the concern for me wasn't the result against Napoli, it's the performance. I can take losing 3-0 because, as you say, there's an inconsistency in the squads anyway. But at no point during the Napoli game until the final 15 minutes when all the kids come on did Liverpool look even likely to. Liverpool have showed a bit of fluency and a bit of.
It looked more like the Liverpool that we know.
It looked like this team had played together before, whereas against Napoli on the weekend it didn't. It looked like a team of strangers who just met each other on the park and fancied the kick around, and it was a bit of a concern for anybody who actually values the Community Shield, anyone who is looking a bit further ahead of that, 5 days further ahead of that to Norwich. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit. Everything's a bit close. Everyone's panicking already because we haven't signed anybody. It's just a bit much, isn't it? To be honest, it's all going on and nothing's happening at the same time.
it would help calm nerves with more wins in pre-season, but like that was the point I was trying to get at. Like the results don't really matter. In
no, completely.
You can definitely learn some things about players and about the team, but the results don't really mean anything. Obviously today we saw really good cameo from Hover, really good cameo from Harry Wilson and Harvey Elliott.
Harvey Elliott looks like a player.
Brilliant.
He's got to set the bollocks on him for a 16-year-old as well. He doesn't half love taking a man on.
He's got a really shit man bun though.
He really has.
It really bothers me.
And sliced it in his eyebrow as well.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, you just said then, like, what do you think are the key elements you can take away from this pre-season from Liverpool? What if you're looking back now, there's learning points and things you take away where you can say, yeah, Liverpool's done really well in this aspect. What are the key elements, basically, that if you were writing a review of pre-season, you'd be like, okay, well, this is a good point. This is a good, things we can take away.
I think Hover is one of the things that we can take away. I think that he can be cover for right back and centre back, possibly even left back. I think we saw David Maddock.
Yes, I was about to say. Keanu Herber has signed a new deal today. He's just turned 17, hasn't he? So basically, he signed a 3-year deal, and apparently it's with an eye to him being back up across the back line for this season. So he will be involved in the first team, which is a massive compliment to someone who is as raw as him, I guess.
Yeah. So I think the fact that Klein went out injured, he's out for the year, and also Moreno leaving on a free, I don't think that they're problems that need properly addressing with signings because of Hover. We've still got Milner that can cover left back as well. Gomez is coming back and he can cover right back when he's not playing centre back. So I think...
And Larucci's...
And Larucci's come through as well, and he's looked really, really good. So I think pre-season's shown that we can look to our own rather than sign replacements for those players that have either left or have been injured. I think Lallana in the number 6 role has been quite interesting, something that we can take from pre-season. Looks like Henderson is definitely going to keep his further forward midfield role if we're trying to train Lallana to be a deputy for Fabinho.
Do you think that's because of Henderson's, I want to say, rebirth as a re-emergence? That's the better word, isn't it? As more of an attacking midfielder. Do you think it's because of that, or do you think it's just a way of maintaining Adam Lallana's fitness a bit more?
Maybe a bit of both.
Because it's less running.
With Henderson moving forward, it leaves a hole in the squad. So say we want 2 players in every position, it leaves a hole in that defensive midfield position. Because you're going to want Gini and Milner and Henderson in those number 8 roles, running the channels. Same with Shaqiri and Keita, just a bit further forward. So there's that hole in the midfield, in that Fabinho-shaped hole. So maybe with Henderson vacating that, it offers Lallana a chance to come in, and it has the added bonus of he has to do a little bit less running. He can use his passing ability a bit more. He can do his Cruyff turns and have Van Dijk straight behind him, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
That is going to terrify me. It's going to terrify me. When Adam Lallana lined up in the 6 role today, me and Matt watched the friendly together, and I turned to Matt and I said, there is going to be a point this season where Adam Lallana does a Cruyff turn and loses the ball in front of the defence. And he did it 10 minutes later. And I'm like, well, if he's going to do it in a pre-season friendly, it's fine. But
you get out of the way early, don't you? Just like Alisson's fucking howler.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, we don't really have to talk about Alisson's howler, because then we'd have to talk about Mignolet's howler, and then I'll just get upset, to be honest.
Alisson's still number 1, don't worry.
Yeah,
and he's still gorgeous.
And he looks
really good in black.
Yeah. I do agree. I think the Lallana experiment's interesting. Because it's all well and good saying that there's a hole in the midfield now for if Henderson does move forward, but it's all well and good saying that there's a hole there for Adam Lallana to fill, but it doesn't mean anything if he's not fit to fill.
Oh no, that's true
so
as well. Yeah,
I do think it must be down to them looking at it and going, he can't cover the ground he used to without absolutely murdering himself. So we're going to have to manage him.
Maybe fashion a Jorginho.
Yeah, exactly.
Role
and
him.
At the end of the day, I think Klopp's an admirer of what Jorginho did for Sarri's Chelsea. Definitely at the start of the season, anyway, when people were lauding him. And he's more of a unconventional holding midfielder in the fact that he is. He is what he is. He's a can play in there. When you're looking at, we've got Fabinho instead, who is your out and out defensive midfielder, but. It will be interesting to see how it takes shape. I think home games against your Burnleys and your Sheffield Uniteds, Adam Lallana playing deep, it will be a stroke of genius if he has the discipline to do it. If he has the discipline to actually hold the line and not go.
That's what Henderson used
forward.
To do, isn't it?
Yeah, but Jordan Henderson was young. Was fairly young anyway when he started learning that more withdrawn position. Adam Lallana is touching 30, if not 30. I can't remember off the top of my head how old he is. I'm going to have to Google it now. But exactly, he's not exactly a young and sprightly fella who's got, he's not a mouldable young footballer. Like, for example, Larouchi's not a left back, he's a left winger. So, him playing out of position, you understand that because young players have to pay the dues kind of thing, whereas somebody who is a seasoned professional in the squad, he's 31, Adam Lallana. God, I didn't realise he was that old.
Elder statesman now.
Exactly. So for someone like him to reinvent himself when he's never really shown that kind of discipline, obviously shown the pressing side of it, but that's not a discipline as such. Is it? Do you know what I mean? It's like chasing after the ball is one thing, but actually holding a shape is something completely different. It'll be very interesting to see if Lallana can actually sustain it across the season. We'll see. Yeah,
well, we're not going to be calling on him that much for that position. If
he stays fit, he plays 30 games this season. Not starting, but he'll play 30 games. He'll make 30 Premier League appearances this season if he can stay fit. Because he made a fair whack last year. Jürgen loves him already. It's just maybe it's about fitting Adam Lallana into the squad. And also, his position is Oxlade-Chamberlain's now. His old position in the squad when he thrived for that brief, shining moment where we thought he was world class.
It was quite a while. It was the first half of 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah, 6 months.
He was bloody good.
Yeah, but it was a long time ago now.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that is something we can take. Bobby Duncan seems to have impressed as well.
I was going to say Bobby Duncan, Ryan Brewster, Harry Wilson.
Yeah.
It looks good. Harvey Elliott as well. Obviously, we've only seen about 20 minutes total of him, but it's not as dire, that front three cover position, as I feared, or maybe a lot of people feared. With players like this coming through, hopefully.
I'm not concerned about the front three cover. I'm concerned about the full back cover, but I don't understand why I am at the same time, because the last time we had an injured a fullback crisis, a young right back called Trent Alexander-Arnold got a breakthrough instead, and look what's happened since then. And obviously, we won't strike gold every time with that. We didn't with Flanagan, we didn't with Stephen Darby and Martin Kelly, Jay Spear, and there's a lot of names you can sit here and whittle off who haven't quite made the grade, and there's nothing to suggest that we won't add to that list. Do you know what I mean? But there's plenty to suggest that they are good enough to, like the likes of Herver is good enough to play a more prominent role in the first team this season. But I think Jay made the point the other day. Our mate Jay said no one would be asked about the transfer situation if we just went out and spent £200 million on Kylian Mbappe. No one would be asked because we still need the fullback, but no one would care. No one would care because everybody wants is a signing.
Yeah.
All everybody wants is just one signing where we can just turn around and go to the Moist Keen.
Yeah, something you can put your hat on.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that shows Liverpool have gone out and done the business this year, and whilst that might well be in the form of new contracts or bringing through people who've been injured for a long time in the form of Brewster and Oxlade-Chamberlain and making sure they come back to reach their full potential,
like a new signing.
Things like that, nobody cares. No, fans don't really care about that. Fans want a new name to get on the back of a shirt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
it's exciting signing a player.
It is.
Look how excited we've got over Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, true. It is exciting.
He doesn't even know what he's got for his GCSEs yet.
That's terrifying. That's horrible. I'm just looking across the.
We're nearly 10 years older than him.
Stop it! I am 10 years older.
Oh God, you're so old. Sorry.
The worst part about the whole transfer situation is when you look around and you look down the East Lancs and Man United are about to get Paulo Dybala for a swap deal for Romelu Lukaku, and you're like, you can have Origi instead of you.
Hey, that is Champions League winner.
What to say?
Divock Origi.
Divock Origi's got a Champions League final goal. He's worth a lot more than Romelu Lukaku at this moment in time.
I don't think we need to be looking down there and see it, like worrying about what United are doing, what Spurs are doing, what Chelsea aren't doing, what Arsenal are doing, signing that Nicolas Pepe.
I think that's a good signing.
I think it's a very good signing
because it stops other teams getting them, but it makes no sense for Arsenal. All we're hearing is how
need defenders.
Yeah, all we're hearing is how skint Arsenal are. That Lauren Koscielny wants to leave. Hector Bellerin suffered like a potentially career-threatening injury towards the end of last season, and Arsenal go out and spunk more money on a winger. Maybe Wenger wasn't in charge the entire time, because that's exactly what he would have done.
They could have shades of 13-14 Liverpool next season. Not finishing second, but a ferocious, quite good attack and a very, very bad defence. It might be really entertaining to watch them.
I mean, what's their attack now? It's going to be
Aubameyang, Pepe.
Yeah, and then a Iwobi or Mkhitaryan. I mean, it's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
And then you step back and you're like Torreira and Xhaka,
and then you look at the defence.
And then you look at the defence and you're like, what the fuck? Stefan Lixana, it'll be Holden and Socrates.
Socrates or Chambers.
Yeah. And then Monreal at left back.
Or Bellerin if he ever comes back.
Or Kolasinac.
Oh, Christ.
Who,
although you would not start.
Yeah, I was about to say, who earned some serious fucking street cred this week, after that video. And then Leno in goal. You are right there, to be fair. I mean, it could be really entertaining to watch. It could be absolutely
I'm going to try and watch every Arsenal game I can.
The thing is, they were good for a good 4 months last season. They were really
when they
good.
Went on my 28-game unbeaten run. It's just stupid.
Yeah, when everyone thought that they were in with a shout for the title race. When Liverpool played them, Man City played them on either side of that, and when Liverpool played them and Liverpool dropped points to them,
Yeah.
I'm not getting into it,
It's fine,
I bought the season review the other day, and I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, fast forward through Wolves. Can't be arsed with that. Not doing that again. Not a chance. Not a fucking chance.
Yeah. But my point was, I don't think we need to worry about any of the teams below us. I don't even really think we can't look to Man City and what they're doing this summer and really compare ourselves. They've signed that Rodri.
I think
even then they're not having a ridiculous summer.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are looking at Man City and going, "Oh, they've just signed Rodri. That's incredible. That's a great signing." And I do agree. He's a very good footballer. He's got everything about him to be the next Sergio Busquets. But when you're looking at what they've actually done, they've let go of their captain and legend in Vincent Kompany. So that's leadership gone out that dressing room very quickly. The plan apparently is to drop Fernandinho back at centre-half and then Rodri comes in to replace Fernandinho. Now Rodri's got to come into a more physical league and hopefully hit, for Man City fans, hopefully hit the ground running.
This isn't going to happen straight away. Like, they're not immediately going to drop Fernandinho.
He's good, you know.
Put Rodri in.
He's good, you know.
Oh, I know he is, but I can't see them doing that immediately. It's like when we bought Fabinho, and Fabinho didn't come in properly in for a while.
Yeah, but it all depends on what happens with John Stones and Otamendi. Because if one of them gets injured, then what choice have they got? What choice have they... Because is Mangala still on the books? Is that where they're going?
I mean, they've still got Laporte. They've got Laporte.
Oh, yeah, sorry, of course.
Laporte
and
one of Otamendi and Stones.
Yeah, that's it. But, I mean, you're looking at... I don't know. They brought in Angelino as well at left back, which, you know, is interesting considering they let him go originally. I think he's just tired of Benjamin Mendy, to be honest. I am as well.
But anyway, this is not a Man City.
No. But the point of it was, everyone's looking at Man City and saying like, oh, you know, they've gone out and they've strengthened and they've attacked from a position of strength.
They've not really. They've just kind of.
They've replaced like for like, and then they've done one bit of business that really they didn't have to do.
Yeah.
That, like, basically what they've done there is they've promoted someone from their academy into their team. The only difference is he's been at PSV for a season, so it's no different.
To do, isn't it?
It's no different from what we've done with Harry Wilson. If Harry Wilson plays 20 games for Liverpool this season, scores three or four goals, then that's a success for Liverpool at the end of the day, isn't it? And we did it internally. It's like, if Harry Wilson by the end of this season matches Xherdan Shaqiri's numbers from last year, then I think Liverpool don't, fair enough.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And no one is tearing up any trees the same way. Nobody's having a window like we did last year, where we went out and bought Fabinho and Alisson. Also, already had catering, and Van Dijk had come in 6 months prior. No one's having a window like that.
United are trying,
but they're not doing it well.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. United aren't doing it well, and United are starting from a much weaker position.
Who have they brought in? Daniel James,
Wan-Bissaka, trying to get Maguire in, trying to get Dybala in.
See,
I think that's it.
There's stuff in there. There is stuff in there that is like...
Is that Bruno Fernandes as well, who scored against us?
They haven't got near it yet.
No, they were trying, though.
Yeah, a lot of people were linked with him. Yeah. Liverpool were linked with him.
They're trying to have their really big windows, try and rebuild and, probably replace Pogba, to be honest.
When was the last time United didn't have one of those, though? They did it last summer as well. You know what I mean? They spend a lot of money every year.
Yeah, but that comes back to my point. I don't think we need to worry about United splurging the money or Arsenal splurging the money or Spurs actually buying some players, because we're better than them.
Yeah.
We don't need to look down at them and worry about them. The only one that we could feasibly compare ourselves to is City. I don't want us to, but you just said City are pretty much doing the same as us, just consolidating, keeping our players together, keeping the squad together. They've replaced like for like. We haven't had to do that.
There's a hysteria.
It's fine, I think.
There's a hysteria about it as well, because at the end of the day, this season Liverpool need 95 points at the very minimum to get near winning the league. And that's unprecedented.
And everyone's decided that we massively overperformed last season, and that there's no way we can do it again.
And whilst there's no evidence to say that we have done that, there's no evidence to say we haven't either at this point in time. That should be stressed. And if we look like idiots 6 months down the line because Liverpool are sitting in 8th, and
Well, I mean,
it's all
expected goals. Apparently, we overperformed on expected goals last season, but I have a bit of a problem with that stat anyway, because expected goals, it assumes like the average striker. The average striker finishes this goal X amount of times out of 10. Like, we're better than average. So, our players are better than your average strikers, so they should finish these chances more than he expected. So I think it's kind of it's a tricky stat. But I think that's where a lot of people are saying that we overperformed last season. I think that's where it's coming from. But I don't see any reason why we can't do what we did last season again. Like, it was brilliant, but we are brilliant. This is the best Liverpool team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's the best Man City team we've ever seen as well. And the fact that they push each other along. Man City don't do as well last season.
If Liverpool aren't right
behind them. We don't do as well last season if we're not chasing City. That's just a fact.
Yeah, and I do think there is something to that. And at the end of the day, we aren't after a massive rebuilding job this summer. This isn't about Liverpool spending another 100 million quid. This is about Liverpool.
Incremental. We don't have to improve that much. We can't improve that much. Who can we buy to improve that starting 11?
Well, yeah, and that is a good point. What I would say is, I mean, I've said it already. This summer, I wanted at least another striker coming in. I wouldn't have minded another centre half because all of ours are injury prone. At the start of the summer, I wanted Timo Werner and Matthijs de Ligt, as I'm pretty sure every Liverpool fan did.
Sign him on FIFA.
I'm still pretty convinced Kylian Mbappe is going to be a Liverpool player at some point in his career.
I tried to sign him on FIFA, but they wouldn't let me.
Yeah, it's too much money.
I won't even matter. He just says, he's only just joined PSG.
Yeah. Oh.
Rubbish.
But that's the next FIFA's problem. But yeah, I mean...
Virgil van Dijk's have a cover of it.
I know.
Are EA going to give us any money for talking about FIFA or no?
No, unfortunately not. No, otherwise I'd make more.
Thought we just got a lucrative sponsorship.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not.
Damn it!
I think most of the people who listen to this already know what FIFA is.
Nah.
You know, we'll sell Lovren to AC Milan. It'll be fine. You know, it'll be a good window. This could be a great window. It's an important window, and now I'm down to. Listen, if Jurgen Klopp's happy, I'm happy as well.
So, yeah, and it is a little bit frustrating not having any proper signings to speak of. But we say we wanted a backup centre back. That Van der Berg's coming. We say we wanted a backup full back. Hoover's put himself forward. We say we wanted a backup winger. Harry Wilson's come back. Ryan Bruce has come back from injury. Harvey Elliott, the 16-year-old.
It's a different circumstance to when Tottenham went signing players last summer, in that Tottenham hadn't just won a European Cup. Tottenham hadn't just finished second in the league. Tottenham had...
It seemed ludicrous if they didn't buy anyone.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed absolutely ridiculous because it seemed like they were building towards something and they didn't take advantage of that position. And yet Tottenham improved upon their season the year before and went and got a European Cup final position. Obviously, faltered in the league. Happens. It does.
Was always going
to happen. I did call it. I didn't think they'd get to the Champions League final.
No, but I don't think they did.
But yeah, I mean, they did do well. I mean, even that's without Harry Kane for large portions of last season as well. That's with Dele Alli not performing as well as he can do as well. So I mean, Liverpool. You can remain hopeful if Liverpool haven't announced anybody by the time transfer window closes. You can still remain... Well, anyone further. That's disrespectful to Sepp van den Berg and Harvey Elliott.
It is. You're good lads.
Yeah, you're good lads. You both look good.
They're so young. They're so young. I can't get over it.
But... Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that coverage of pre-season.
Yeah. A lot more optimistic than I thought it.
Yeah. So, looking ahead now to this weekend, the Community Shield starts. It starts and finishes, I guess, on the same day.
The first of 7 competitions were in this season.
Yes, the first of 7 competitions.
2 of which are only one game.
Yeah, people are flapping about it. One of which is 2 games.
It is.
Which is the community.
Just stupid, isn't it?
Club World Cup.
I get it. They are more games, but they're not. That's
the big one this year, the Club World Cup. It's the only one Liverpool.
It's the only one we haven't won. We've got to go all out.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to go big for that. It's the only one Liverpool haven't added to their history yet.
It's got to go on the Champions Wall. It's got to go.
Yeah, exactly. So, how do you think we line up against Man City this week?
I think it was quite telling who came on in the last substitution against Lyon just then. I think it's obviously Mignolet comes on, but I don't think. Well, hopefully Mignolet never starts for Liverpool in a Premier League
ever again.
Or just any game, to be honest. But it's going to be Alisson in there, and then everyone who came on, bar Harvey Elliott, in that last substitution will probably start as well. Salah will start in place of Harvey Elliott, so it's probably what I would put my money on would be Alisson, Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip, Alexander-Arnold being the defence, and then Fabinho, Henderson, Gini Wijnaldum midfield, Salah, Origi and Oxlade-Chamberlain up front, because I don't think Firmino looks properly fit enough. Like, he scored a good goal and he had some nice touches, but he wasn't running as Firmino as he usually does. Salah did look good. The runs he was making, he was having loads of shots. He was linking up really, really well with Hover down the right. It was really good to see. Oxlade-Chamberlain looks loads better than he did last week, which is nice. And, well, we need someone to fill Mane's place, because Mane will be back the Monday after the...
he's back on the Monday, and then he gets
I don't think he starts against Norwich either, to be honest.
No, I think Liverpool sneak in an extra behind closed doors friendly on Tuesday.
Maybe.
Or the Wednesday. I assume it's the Tuesday, because then it gives you a couple of days.
Take my boots down to Melwood and see if I can...
Just in case.
Yeah.
But I reckon Liverpool will have something worked out, because obviously we were supposed to play a friendly that week anyway, and then we got our game moved to the Friday, which happens. It doesn't happen. That's a complete lie.
It's going to be nice to open the Premier League and have everyone watching us singing Champions of Europe for 90 minutes. It's going to be fucking great.
And when we are like top of the Premier League, exactly. When we were top of the Premier League with a +6 goal difference, it'll be really nice. I can't see it being much different. I do think maybe Firmino does start though. I think the more I think about it, I think it just makes sense from getting a minutes point of view. I'm expecting him to feature sort of like the Champions League final, where he just comes off for Origi and then Origi scores in the last minute and wins it. Because can
we just do that every game?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Origi just be our clutch player forever.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's not very... No, he's great. I nearly said sacrilege then, but no.
We are never allowed to say Divock Origi is not good at football again.
No, we aren't.
He somehow keeps scoring important goals, and that probably makes for a good footballer.
Yeah, I mean, Dick Kite's hard large for that, and yeah, we'll get to that at some point.
My favourite ever. Oh, you know he's going in my team. You
fuck right off. I think I would expect that. I think it's still 5 changes you can make in the Community Shield final as well, and also it goes straight to pens, so there's no extra time after it or anything. I don't really want to talk about it because it's a friendly. At the end of the day, you're friendly, you get a shield.
Fuck knows how City are going to line up. Don't particularly care. I think Pep's been talking about Sterling as a striker while Aguero gets match fit again.
They had a long Copa America, I guess, didn't they?
But then again, it's Pep. He starts whoever he fucking wants. He could start Zinchenko up front. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? He can do whatever he wants. I bet you he misses James Milner, because I bet you he could just lash James Milner up front and
stick him in net. Fuck it.
Why not? I bet you he'd do a good job. I bet he wouldn't complain. Go on, predictions. Why not?
What, for the...
for the Community Shield.
7-0?
No.
9-0?
No.
Oh, come on.
Pick a new... Well, you can have 9-0.
I had 7-0 2 seasons ago. 8-0 this season just gone. It's going to be 9-0 now.
Okay, 9-0. Okay. So,
cool.
Okay. I'm going to be much more practical and say Liverpool win on penalties, because why not? Liverpool don't lose pen shootouts, so
except to Man City in 15,
League Cup.
16?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
We were there. It was
fine.
It was really bad.
It's fine. Calm down. Yeah. So that's pretty much all we wanted to talk about for pre-season and Community Shield for now, wasn't it?
I can't wait for the start of the season proper.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for anyone who likes the Community Shield. I don't care. I do not care. Winning it would be nice. It's a piece of silverware. It's nice and shiny and big.
It's a traditional game more than anything else.
Yeah, no, it's like the Premier League Asia trophy. It's a trophy, but it's not.
Yeah, you're not gonna lash it on the wall of champions. Well,
no,
we do have it on the wall of champions.
For winning it, are you?
Well, no, only silly bunch of bastards would do that.
Yeah. But I can't wait for actual football to start again.
Norwich under the lights.
It's going to be brilliant.
There's nothing better than Norwich under the lights, apparently, and it is just 9 days away. 9 fucking days.
So close.
9 days, you can nearly touch it. So it's 9 days until the Premier League season starts again. So what me and Matt thought we'd do to celebrate is over the next 11 episodes, we are going to do our Premier League 11. Now, we can't do our all-time Liverpool 11 because we're 12. No, I mean,
we weren't born.
Yeah, exactly.
Liverpool were really, really, really
I was
good.
born in '92. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the glorious days of Phil Neal and Alan Kennedy at fullback. I can't do it. So what we're going to talk about is what we know. It's rare on this podcast, but we are going to do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through for the. I guess I say 11 weeks. I might do 12 weeks because
Super sub
manager.
Ah.
Yeah, I think there's manager in there as well.
What about best substitute as well?
All right. We'll carry this. We'll milk this dry.
Yeah. Best squad.
Yeah. So
23 weeks. Let's go.
So what we're going to start with, obviously, is goalkeeper. Also, interesting thing that you did before, right? It's just playing on my mind. Is that when you were naming your team for City, you went from left back to right back?
I did.
Right. Why does not everyone do that? Because I go from right to left back. Why does we read in this country
because
from
you're
left
Arabic
to right?
And you read from right to left.
That
must be why.
Must be. But it is tradition, isn't it, for the number 2 to be a right back and the number 3 to be a left back. So it goes in that order anyway.
I don't like it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 1.
Number 1.
Normally,
also, can I say it's a really good job that in the early and mid 90s Liverpool were crap.
Yeah,
it's a really, really good job because we were not conscious. We would not be able to recall on.
I'll be able to tell you how good
memories to be able to tell us.
I'll be able to tell you how good Michael Owen was. I'll be able to whittle that off.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Late 90s were lovely.
That's when we actually started to pay attention.
But we are going to start with goalkeeper. Goalkeeper is an interesting one because it seems pretty obvious, and we had to pick a third. So notable names. Let's start with that. Notable names for Liverpool's best ever Premier League goalkeeper include David James. Simon Mignolet.
Jersey Dudek.
Now, Jersey Dudek will not be included in this 3, and the reason is because he wasn't actually Liverpool. He was Liverpool's number 1, but he was always fighting with Chris Kirkland and with Scott Carson for it. And also, whilst we say this is a Premier League 11, I should say this right now, we will be going across their entire achievements for Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah.
And so, for that reason, and also because third place really doesn't fucking matter in this because they aren't winning it, I've elected to say Sander Westerveld instead. Honest to God, I could have
spoilers, man.
I could have Rob Jones. I could have Rob Jones in
Brad
there.
Friedel.
I could have fucking anybody in there. Patrice Luisi, honest to God, was that far away from being included. But yes, Adam Bogdan, we could have included him instead. But I'm going
services to Liverpool Football Club, looking a bit like Ed Sheeran.
There you go.
Third best goalkeeper ever.
His best performance in a Liverpool game was against us for Bolton. And that's the reason we signed him. But yeah, number 1, our first choice for what we're going to do is we're going to argue between 3 players. This week it's going to be between 2 players, and we're going to include the third name. But yeah, our first candidate is Sander Westerveld. Now, the reason I put forward Sander Westerveld is because, as I said, it doesn't matter. Sander Westerveld was signed in 1999 for a fee of £4 million. That's a lot of money back then.
It is a lot of money.
We spent a lot of money. If I remember rightly, we had a big summer that year. We spent a lot more money than teams normally did. But that is a lot of money for a goalkeeper back then. Westerveld played for Liverpool. When did he leave? His last appearance for Liverpool was the 27th of August 2001, which I believe might have been the Community Shield against Arsenal. Please be the Community Shield against Arsenal. No, it's not. It's Premier League game. Bollocks. It's not far off though. I think it might be a couple of weeks later or something like that. He had a win. Well, let me just see this. He had a win ratio of 57.28%. He won 59 games as Liverpool's goalkeeper, drew 22 of them and lost 22. Whilst at Liverpool, he won the FA Cup, the League Cup and the UEFA Cup. In total, played 103 games for Liverpool, 75 in the league. He won Liverpool a League Cup in the final once.
He did.
Yeah. So, that's Sander Westerveld. Okay, now let's get on to the serious.
It is good to be part of that treble-winning team.
Yeah.
Like, you are regarded highly forever after that. Like, it's not the treble, but it's our treble.
For us, it was huge. For us, it was huge at the time. That's why all jokes aside, why I went with Westerveld over Dudek.
And that season got Owen the Ballon d'Or. That was a fucking brilliant season for Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
and
really good.
So that is, all jokes aside, why I went for Sander Westerveld, because I do think, whilst the Champions League was impressive, if you ask Jamie Carragher, he will say the treble was his most impressive season for Liverpool. Liverpool's most impressive season while he was playing for them, sorry. So that's why I've gone for Westerveld.
We played the most games possible.
Yeah, the only way Liverpool could have played more games in that is if we'd have had replays in the FA Cup. That was it. Yeah, so that's why he got the nod as third choice for this. He'll always be remembered for me as the goalkeeper who loved a good excuse, Sander Westerveld. He once made an excuse after dropping a ball away at Middlesbrough that there was ice on the ball, and that's why he dropped it. He was very average as a goalkeeper, as goalkeepers go, and although I do believe Dudek and Kirkland were both upgrades on him, they all weren't very good, were they? So,
a cult hero 11 at some point. As well.
Yeah, we'll do that at some point. Yeah,
or
that's
like
fine.
a meme 11.
No, cult hero. I'm not going near meme. But yeah,
Colo Torre, man, in every position.
Shout out for Sander Westerveld.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second candidate and the much more realistic candidate is Jose Manuel Reina. So we signed Jose Reina on the 4th of July 2005 for £6 million.
Can you stop calling him Jose?
Pepe Reina. I was just saying it until you pulled me up on it, to be honest. So we signed Pepe Reina on the 4th of July 2005, although it had been confirmed for pretty much, well, it had been known about for ages beforehand. If you actually watch the Champions League final back, Clive Tilsley says it in the game in the commentary. Whilst he made his Liverpool debut on the 13th of July 2005, so this is including pre-season, apparently. This is all from LFC history, by the way. His last appearance was the 19th of May 2013, before he was replaced by Sider Mig. His win ratio, 53.81%. He won 212 games as Liverpool's goalkeeper, drew 96 and lost 86. Won only an FA Cup and a League Cup whilst at Liverpool.
Couple of Premier League Golden Gloves in there, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
2006 season. Was it the 2005-6 season and the 2008-9 season? I want to say.
That sounds right. Yeah. I do remember that. 1 second. He won 2009, 2010.
Oh, 9-10. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to go through now and just seeing what I assumed it would just be on there, to be honest with you. So.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so he won 2005, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8.
And 9-10 as well.
Nope, 9-10 was Petr Cech.
Oh, right, okay. So, did he not tie then? Because I'm sure, I've just read that he tied for it in 2000.
Oh, might have done.
Yeah, he shared it with Cech.
Oh, okay.
I think Cech might have played less games.
That's probably why he's listed.
Yeah, I think Cech might have played less games. But yeah, so that's so Pepe Reina in total played 394 games for Liverpool, 285 of them coming in the league. What can you say about Pepe Reina?
He was fucking brilliant. Like you could always rely on him up until probably 2011 time when he started to fade a bit. He was so reliable. Like 3 Golden Gloves in a row, 2006, 7, and 8. Absolutely ridiculous. Instrumental in the FA Cup win. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say because he was just really good and solid and dependable.
The thing is,
I never under Rafa Benitez, I never really worried about conceding goals with him in net.
Yeah.
And Carragher and Hippier and Agger in front of him.
I think that's the most important thing with Reina is that Reina formed a hugely important, like a hugely difficult defensive block to break down. Do you know what I mean? So in 2005, 2006, when he comes in, you've got Reina in goal, Finn and Carragher, Hippier, and then Agger in the second half of the season, and John Arisa at left back. And when you're looking at that, I mean, there are a lot of names that we regard as, well, maybe not legends, but but
some would say
Carragher and Hippier, yeah, exactly. What would be mistaken for legends a lot, I guess. So you're looking at this defensive quality, but Reina's such an important part of this, and he's also an important part of what is considered by a lot of people still, to be honest, is the best spine Liverpool have ever had. In terms of, you've got Reina, Carragher, Alonso, Mascherano, Gerrard, Torres, world class.
Yeah, that 08-09 team was just ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So he was fantastic. I think Reina doesn't get the credit outside Liverpool that he deserves, because since he's left Liverpool, he's been largely a backup goalkeeper. Obviously, Napoli aside, he's largely been a backup goalkeeper to Neuer and now to Donnarumma at AC Milan. But also, he never got past Casillas, and that's at Spain. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not something to use against him. He's still got 36 international caps, which is still impressive, but he never got past Casillas, and there's a bit of a you have to do it on the international stage about it for a lot of people these days. You know what I mean? That's what people say about Messi. Has to win the World Cup, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean?
I think there's also the fact that he was playing at the same time as Petr Cech and Edwin van der Sar as well.
Yeah, it's a golden age of goalkeepers. I mean, you say those two, and then you look around the rest of the league as well, and you've got a young David De Gea's coming through at United, if I remember rightly.
In the last seasons,
yeah, exactly. Even when Van der Sar gets off, but then even then, you're looking at Brad Friedel, who's
Premier League stalwart.
Exactly, Premier League stalwart. Fantastic, really reliable. You're looking at Tim Howard at Everton.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
Jussi Escalante at Bolton, there for years, always a good, reliable goalkeeper. Shea Given, Joe Hart, even when he was enjoying his good years at Man City. Jens Lehmann's still kicking around at Arsenal, if I remember rightly. It's just,
so I don't think he's remembered as fondly outside of Liverpool circles because of that. Because maybe he wasn't the best goalkeeper in the league at the time.
It is also because we didn't win the title with him as well, which will always kind of haunt our players who've played in the past. To be fair, it's used against Gerrard still to this day, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh well, he was good.
Well, in the Gerrard Scholes argument, it's like, oh, how many Premier Leagues is Gerrard?
Yeah, exactly. And I've never really found it fair, to be honest, to compare players based on on that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
On the trophies that a team wins.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's fair. Yeah. What I would say about Reina is that he did add just this era of calm for a good couple of seasons where you were just like, Reina's good enough to deal with this. Also, his distribution was second to none as well.
So
He get Liverpool on the counter-attack so quickly after every move.
I think that was one of the most frustrating things about losing him and him being replaced by Mignolet. Reina's shot stopping had really gone downhill in the last couple of seasons, and that's why we brought in Mignolet. But his distribution was still so good.
Yeah.
And then when we brought Mignolet in, he's just this really slow tit of a goalkeeper who just does not know what to do with the ball. I think that did not help us as the Coppers, Liverpool fans, warm to Mignolet after coming from Pepe Reina, who's one of the best goalkeepers with a ball at his feet that I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, I do think that's fair to be... Like, keepers using their feet at the time wasn't really as accepted in the Premier League as it is.
Fashionable.
It wasn't. It was kind of expected at Liverpool. It's kind of expected. Sorry, in the Premier League. No, it's not really something that you saw much in 2000 when Reina came in 2005. You know, something Schmeichel used to get praised for, but no one really had the guts to do it. But Reina did. He had a bit of confidence with him, and it's not to the level that Neuer did it. It's not to the level that Alisson does it now. Not even Alisson or Ederson do now. But it is
at the time. It was quite revolutionary for the Premier League, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I wouldn't say.
Well, not revolutionary.
Yeah,
you know, something different, a bit of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, exactly. It was not for the Premier League, but for Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Yeah.
We hadn't seen it since Grobbelaar. Grobbelaar was the last madhead to do stuff like that.
And he was just a madhead in general, wasn't
he? Basically. But it's not even like, it wasn't like coming out the box or anything like that. It wasn't anything too fancy. It was just complete command of the penalty area.
Yeah.
That was what Reina
just had. The actual passing ability as well.
Yeah. Just a world class goalkeeper. I would love to. I'm half annoyed Liverpool didn't try and get him back this summer as a replacement for Mignolet.
I'd take him back in a heartbeat in any role he wants. Obviously not starting keeper.
Yeah.
Any backroom staff role he wants, any sub goalkeeper role he wants, whatever.
I just think that there was definitely a role in there for him as backup, as where Mignolet is. And I'd rather have Reina around than Mignolet, and Mignolet obviously still has something to give in his opinion. He is not included on this list because he's Simon Mignolet.
He's shite.
But any other nice things to say about Pepe?
Lovely shiny head.
I particularly enjoyed when he lashed Iron Robin on the floor once
great.
And got sent off for it. It was honestly one of my favourite moments. So that's Pepe. The next candidate 3, is Liverpool's current number 1, Alisson Becker.
The bearded one, apparently.
Fuck off. So
there's a piece of Liverpool merchandise being sold on the official shop, which is a silhouette of Alisson Becker with his gloves out holding a ball, and underneath it says the bearded one,
which no one has ever called him.
Ever said that? Not even thought it.
No.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, Liverpool have tried to start something there, and they just don't have the club shop.
Stop trying to make the bearded one happen. It won't happen.
It's not going to happen. So we're talking about transfer fees in this as well. So Sander Westerveld, 4 million, Pepe Reina, 6 million. Alisson Becker, £65 million, signed on the 19th of July 2018.
World record fee for a goalkeeper for about
a week. Yeah, about 2 days.
2 days.
Until Kepa Arrizabalaga was
signed. A week today, I round up.
Yep. So he made his Liverpool debut on the 12th of August 2018. His last appearance was today.
We'll ignore today because that doesn't do well for his.
His last appearance was the Champions League final. So far for Liverpool, Alisson Becker has a 74.51% win percentage. He has won 38 games, drawn 8 and lost just 5. His honours include a Champions League in 2019, you might have heard about it. He has played 38 league games for Liverpool and 51 in all competitions. Now, is it premature to say Alisson Becker's the best goalkeeper in Liverpool's Premier League history? That's what me and you have to decide here right now. Well, not right now. We can talk about it a little bit first. But
got a 15-minute time limit.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about what Reina offered in terms of coming out and defending his penalty area. Alisson goes a little bit further than the penalty area, and Alisson does basically the entire 30-yard radius of his goal. Mm-hmm. And then some as well. We'll always have that header last season against Bournemouth where he just comes out and just absolutely wipes out. I think it's Musset, is it? Or something like that.
I don't know, but it was brilliant.
It's one of my favourite moments I've ever seen from a goalkeeper. He looks great in the new kit as well.
Does look great in the new kit.
There is that as well. But all jokes aside, we're talking about Reina getting Golden Glove. Obviously, that's something that Alisson managed to do last year as well. Most clean sheets, 21 clean sheets, surpassed Reina's best record as well. And also, was it 9 clean sheets in a row at the end of the season for club and country?
Yeah, I think so.
Which, phenomenal run that was, as he won the Copa America as well. I mean, we can't include international honours too much in this because Pepe Reina was involved in the Spain squad that won everything. But, I mean, well, he did play in this, as I was saying before. Casillas never really got ahead of Casillas. Reina never got ahead of Casillas even. But Alisson, not only is he the Premier League's best goalkeeper right now, there's an argument that he's the best in the world.
There is. And Reina never had that. Reina was never considered... Well, maybe once or twice he was considered the best goalkeeper in the league. He was never considered the best goalkeeper in the world. And Alisson genuinely is being considered as one of...
That's nothing against Pepe Reina as well, because the quality of his opposition at the time, you're talking about peak Gianluigi Buffon, peak Iker Casillas, Manuel Neuer coming into his pomp. We're talking about really good goalkeepers here. We're not just talking about anybody, and yet we are talking about Alisson Becker coming up against the likes of Ter Stegen, still Manuel Neuer, David De Gea, Jan Oblak, exactly, Asmir Handanovic, Gianluigi Donnarumma, world class goalkeepers all.
I'm a big fan that you've not mentioned Ederson. I'm a very big fan.
I can't mention Ederson because I don't think he's a good goalkeeper. I think he's a very
Alisson
good.
Keeps Ederson out of the Brazil team, so it's obvious who's better.
Ederson's a very good sweeper. Yeah. And he's a very talented footballer. I'm not saying he's not a good goalkeeper. Actually, that'd be a stupid thing to say because he is a good goalkeeper.
I'll say it.
But he's not.
He's got a really shit tattoo, and it means he's bad.
He's not world class. He's not world class in the slightest, and also he's not as good looking as our goalkeeper. So,
no, but his tattoo. It's terrible.
I think teams attack Man City more, they will concede more goals. Whereas we got attacked a lot last season, and we still kept the most clean sheets.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a criticism of Ederson as such. It's a criticism of Man City, but I do doubt. I'd love to see how many shots he faces on average per game compared to Alisson, because I might just be chatting bubbles here, and it might well be a case of he does face a fair whack of shots. Towards the end of the season, he was pivotal for them as well. He kept out a lot of good chances, particularly in the Leicester game, which, on another day. But
yeah,
it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are literally 11 millimetres away from this, not even a discussion, and us just going Alisson Becker. Yeah, Sam. As it happens, we can't do that. It does feel a bit weird to use the Champions League against in Alisson's favour, but not had Jerzy Dudek involved in this conversation. But
because Jerzy Dudek wasn't.
He wasn't Liverpool's number one.
Yeah, he wasn't instrumental in Liverpool coming second in the league, only conceding 20-odd goals, keeping 21 clean sheets in the league season at the same time as winning the Champions League.
The thing is,
that's what Alisson did. He wasn't a cup keeper. He was the keeper throughout. won the Champions League and kept a hell of a load of clean sheets, made some really important saves, and was genuinely brilliant throughout.
Did Mignolet get 2 games last season? It was League Cup against Chelsea and FA Cup against Wolves.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean, you do look back across the 2005 season, and you think of all the pivotal moments that we had in the Champions League, and you think of Olympiacos. Who was in goal for Olympiacos? Chris Kirkland. Who was in goal when we played Juventus? Scott Carson. And then Jerzy Dudek's in goal for the semi-final and the final. But it is mad how much we rotated goalkeepers that season. And Dudek obviously gets the limelight because, deservedly so, he saved the penalty in the final. But Alisson Becker has played... was it 51 games, I said before, in all competitions for Liverpool this past season, and to keep the amount of clean sheets he's got as well is no, it's a credit to him, it's a credit to his defence as well. And we'll get to how many of this current team get into the best 11 as we go. Do you know what I mean? We'll see it more. I think it's more than we would probably have expected at this point last season.
Let's not forget Alisson makes the save that keeps us in the Champions League as well against Napoli.
Yeah,
that is monumentally important. That's Gerrard scoring a goal against Olympiacos level of importance for how this season goes.
I think
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I do think that if you're looking at individual moments, I'd probably say, I mean, it's probably tied because Rayner's got loads in there as well.
Of course, yeah.
You're looking at the final where he tips the FA Cup final where he tips the ball onto the post and then saves 3 penalties. Do you know what I mean? That as goalkeeper performances go is pretty fantastic. Even if he does make a mistake very early on to put us 2-0 behind. Yeah, 2-0 behind. But I think another thing that is very impressive about Alisson Becker at this point in time, right, is Alisson has played in senior football. He played 44 games for Internacional and then 37 league games, sorry. 44 league games for Internacional and then 37 for Roma and then 38 for Liverpool. So in terms of actually how many appearances he's actually made in all competitions, Alisson Becker's made 230. Okay, so before he comes to Liverpool, that's just 179 appearances in all competitions. So he's not exactly and a lot of them are in Brazil. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about somebody who's played a lot of top level football.
Yeah, and he's not reached his peak.
Exactly. Whereas Pepe Reina was number 1 for Barcelona before he comes in for Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking again. We're not talking about a goalkeeper who was hitting best in the world heights, as we said before, but we are talking about somebody who was recognised as a great goalkeeper. It was him versus Victor Valdez at Barcelona, and ultimately they went with Valdez and sold Pepe to Villarreal. But it is interesting, to look back. Pepe Reina comes in with 175 games, first team games as he stands for Liverpool. It's 175 games he's played for all the teams. So they are about level on that stats, but it's interesting the level at which they've done it to.
Yeah.
And then the heights that Alisson's gone to since. Do you know what I mean? They both reached different levels. They both reached incredible new levels, I think. I mean, Reina broke records that had been set since the great days in the 80s. And then Alisson's come through and broken them as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's closer than I would... At this point in time, I do think it's closer than I'm probably going to make it out to be. But that's because I believe Alisson Becker will be remembered as Liverpool's best goalkeeper ever by the time he leaves the club. Because he's great.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a difficult one trying to decide which one's better because, obviously Alisson, you've still got everything to come. Mm-hmm. What if next season and every season until we sell him, he's shite? What if he turns into Mignolet?
No, it's not. That's not.
I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. But you're saying that he will be remembered as Liverpool's best goalkeeper.
I believe he will be at this point in time. Yeah.
But is believing that enough to say, yes, right now Alisson is the all-time best Premier League goalkeeper for Liverpool?
It depends how rational you want to be, mate. If you want to
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
If you want to be,
this is what we like.
Yeah. if you want to be completely rational about this, then I can't have this conversation with you. No, I understand what you mean. Because I think basically you have to average it across what games they have played, the games that they have played, and I do think that we have a smaller sample size for Alisson, and we have to bear that in mind. And Reina did dip, but if we ignore the dip of Reina and we just concentrate on the good times of Pepe Reina, so we're talking 05, 06 to 9, 10.
Yeah.
So even when we were shite that last season under Rafa, even when we were shite, Pepe still shone, and he still managed to keep as many clean sheets as Petr Cech did. It's mad we finished like 6th that season, and then didn't get back until 13-14. I think if you're looking at those seasons, Reina before I saw Alisson was for me the best goalkeeper I'd ever. Well, it wasn't even hard, to be honest. We hadn't seen many goalkeepers, as we've discovered here. We haven't seen many good world-class goalkeepers at Liverpool since Grobbelaar, Clemens, the likes. I do think that it's maybe skewed because we've won the Champions League and it's fresh in my mind. But I do think if I'm picking a team to play tomorrow, to play on not Sunday. If I'm picking a team to play on the 1st of June of the season just gone, would you want peak Reina or peak Alisson? And I think Alisson already has passed Reina's peak. I just think that.
I agree. I think Alisson as well. Like, my reasoning behind it is, I have caught myself watching Alisson. Well,
it's the stretches.
I have caught myself watching Alisson and trying to figure out like what he's thinking when he's positioning himself, because he positions himself so well. He never has to make wonder saves because he's never in a position where he's too out of position to have to make wonder saves. That's the thing with Alisson. I was not going to Liverpool games when Reina was our keeper, but I just can't imagine myself doing that with Reina. He made great saves, but I think that's because he wasn't as well positioned as Alisson is.
Yeah.
And I think that is the true sign of who is the better keeper. Let's not...
It's really hard because Alisson has the best defender I've ever seen play football in front of him.
But before we signed Alisson and we had Van Dijk, who was still the best defender I've ever seen, we still conceded goals with Karius. That is not purely down to Van Dijk. We've been conceding goals for a laugh in pre-season with Van Dijk in the team. Obviously, I've said that pre-season means nothing, but...
Make your fucking mind up.
Hey, when it suits, when the boot fits. But I think Alisson is kind of integral to that performance last season. He was the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle that needed to be...
That sentence, doesn't it? It's just another cliche to lash on, isn't it?
It is. But it was the last piece that needed to be assembled in that defence. For all that to happen. And the fact that I can see myself... Well, no, can't see myself. I have just spent 30 minutes in a match watching Alisson once.
It's very easy to do.
He is dreamy. But but I think it's just a little bit ridiculous how good he actually is.
Yeah. I think
Pepe Reina got to play in a team managed by Rafa Benitez, who's a very defensive manager, and have Carragher and Hippier and Agger in front of him for a good few years as well. I am not saying that to take away anything from Pepe Reina. Obviously, Alisson's had Virgil van Dijk ahead of him as well, but I think overall that defence from 08-09 was probably better than the defence.
Yes. Are we treating that as Reina's peak season, by the way, 08-09?
I am.
Okay.
I'm treating everyone's
peak season as 08-09.
Everyone's peak season as 08-09 that played then, because that was just absolutely phenomenal. Maybe it was 05-06 when he first came in and was absolutely brilliant in the league and then instrumental in the FA Cup, but my go-to is always 08-09.
Do you know... Another thing that's really bothering me about Reina is I can't right now, off the top of my head, think of a massive game for Pepe Reina where you're just like, Reina's walked off there and he's the best player on the pitch by some distance. He wins he wins the FA Cup in the end for Liverpool, but it is, as I say, because he makes a mistake very early on in the game that we end up finishing the game 3-3.
Also, it's remembered as Gerrard's FA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's remembered as Gerrard FA Cup final. Obviously, he saves a couple of penalties in the Champions League semi-final against Chelsea as well. Can't be forgotten. But ultimately, you remember their kite from it. And that's not to say anything about Alisson this season. We're not going to... I don't think a lot of people will ever think of it as Alisson won us the cup, because it will always be Divock Origi at the end of the day. But
Alisson won us that game against Napoli.
But Alisson won us that game against Napoli, definitely. Alisson has had more moments, I think, this season that highlight how good he is in terms of the Burnley counter-attack away at Burnley, where he saves a ball that's going in the top corner, then stops it from going out for a corner to Burnley, and then gets the ball and releases it. It was like the 89th minute, something like that, and releases it for a counter-attack, and Liverpool scores there on Shaqiri.
Was there Fulham as well?
Fulham, when they scored
their offside goal, Alisson didn't switch off and passed it straight to Trent, who put Mo through.
Yeah, exactly. There's even a pass in the Champions League final where he just pings the ball across. I think it might be to Robbo. Someone breaking down the left-hand side, and you're just like, you're the best goalkeeper in the world. And I'm not saying that Reina didn't have them, and maybe I was just a bit immature and thought goalkeepers didn't really do much, but I can't remember many moments of that, and I do remember a lot of moments of thinking, maybe you should have done better. Obviously Reina was world class, and I can sit here and this isn't about. I don't think this is about a case of who's worse. This is a case of who's better with these two, and for me, it's Alisson Becker.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, there we go. We have going into the number one slot is Liverpool's. He's never worn number one for Liverpool in a competitive game.
He's our new number one.
He's our new number one. Neither of them ever wore number one for Liverpool competitively.
That is true.
And also 1 point for Reina actually before we change. But before I lock this in, Pepe Reina played midfield in a pre-season friendly.
He did.
Alisson is yet to do that.
Oh, pre-season used to be so fun, didn't it? It used to be so stupid.
Oh, fucking hell. I remember, I think it was that same game, someone else got injured. I think it was it Craig Linfield or something mad like that? And we'd already brought Robbie Fowler off and we had to bring him back on because we were desperate for subs. Cause we
remember when Jose Enrique played in net once? That wasn't even pre-season.
No, that was
an actual
away at Newcastle. I remember that.
Weird.
Yeah, but we're locked in with Alisson Becker as the best.
Wrote it down.
Yeah, I've wrote it down on a piece of paper. That's how official this is. Alisson Becker goes down for me and Matt anyway as the best Liverpool goalkeeper from 1992 onwards. I'm not going to say Premier League this time round. I'm sure I will forget and say Premier League next week. But
again, it's a great job that we were really shit in the 90s.
Yeah, it really
we
was.
would not be able to say anything.
I could not be arsed sitting here and talking about Bruce Grobbelaar. Purely because we never saw the best of him. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be fair. It'd be like saying when we get to strikers, you can't put Ian Rush in strikers.
I've seen him. He's come to me work.
I've got his autograph somewhere upstairs, I think. Bruce Grobbelaar.
I was to go down and buy his book, but I was busy. I was actually busy at work. It was a really weird day.
Right, okay, so next week we'll do right backs. Do you want to? Should we pick the candidates for right back now?
No. We'll think.
Come on, I know the three already.
Go on,
I know the three already. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold, Steve Finnan, or Glenn Johnson. They're the three main.
Why
candidates.
Glenn Johnson?
He's played the most games at right back for Liverpool.
For fuck's sake!
It has to be. It's either him or Alvaro Arbeloa. So that's what I'm saying. Do you want Glenn Johnson or Arbeloa? Who do you want to spend the next week preparing an argument for? Arbeloa or Glenn Johnson? Bearing in mind, neither of them will win him.
I will prepare an argument against Glenn Johnson.
Okay, that's fine. I will argue harder. Although it was a couple of weeks ago where I argued about Glenn Johnson being a good right back.
Yeah, that was really weird. I did not like that. That was a really upsetting day for me.
So that'll be.
That's why we haven't done a podcast in ages. I've just been scared to come back.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So
I'll be worried that you'll tell me like Kyriakos was a really good centre half.
You wait until you see my picks for centre half.
Fuck's sake.
Joking. But yeah, so right back next week.
Yeah.
I think we
we just had the conversation that we should list from left back onwards, but yeah, whatever.
No, right back. That's the normal convention in football. I can't help it.
It's wrong, but it's normal.
Left back's going to be an interesting one as well. So we, left back's really.
Swear down if you say John Honoré saying I'm going to kill you.
Well, tune in 4 weeks.
Right, let's end it there.
Yeah, let's end it there indeed. Thank you very much for listening to this. I reckon we probably will end up splitting the Premier League 11 into its own mini episode at some point. Not for this one, because this is an introduction one, and I can't be asked recording the new intro for it. But makes more sense.
Maybe.
So thank you very much for listening. If you could like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I haven't done this in a while. Follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Podcast Addict, all of the usual things. WordPress as well, because when the season starts again, I will start doing reviews again. I was looking through my reviews the other day and I realised that the only 2 games I didn't do were Wolves and the Champions League final. The last 2 games of the season.
Had more important things.
If Liverpool had won the Premier League that day, though, that would have meant that I'd have done from January onwards up until the 2 biggest games of the season.
Do it now. It's fine.
I could do, couldn't I? No, I'm
just do a 2-month retrospective.
Divock Origi's getting a 27. So yeah,
not a 90 plus 6.
Oh fucking hell! I'm going to have to think of new things to make up this season, because I can't always reference his Jordan Pickford moment. Or can I? I don't know. Well,
you definitely can.
We'll see. We'll see. When do we next play Everton? I'm sure they'll do something.
It's Christmas again.
Yeah. Great. All right. So we've got a lot to look forward to in the next 10 months coming forward.
We
I guess.
Talk about fixtures next week as well. Speaking of Everton at Christmas,
we can talk about fixtures next week. So that should be somewhat interesting.
Yeah.
And at some point we'll get the Champions League group stage drawn as well, which will be very interesting. We've got Super Cup to talk about. We've got lots of things to talk about. Loads of things
coming back.
Yes. So yeah.
I don't know what I've done all summer.
Watched women's footy, watched tennis, watch other things, basically.
I've lost weight. I'm disgusted with myself.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible, isn't it? Right. Cheerio.
See ya.